Hi YouTube, Simon here, welcome back to the channel. And I was just looking at the official PlayStation blog, and there is actually some news regarding the next generation of PlayStation hardware, and that is the launch window. Now, we already pretty much knew that it was going to be coming out next year, although it hadn't been officially confirmed, but now it has been. So the launch window for the PlayStation 5, which is the official name for the next-gen hardware to nobody's surprise whatsoever, I should imagine, is indeed holiday 2020. For those of us that aren't American, I believe this means the whole November-December period that covers Thanksgiving and Christmas in the US. So obviously they're going for the Christmas market there. I mean, it could be after Christmas. There's still like 5 days left of the holiday period in 2020 after that. But one would think it's going to be before. Which is pretty much, I suspect, what a lot of us thought was going to be the case. However, there's also been a few new details, not a whole lot, but a few more details in terms of the controller and what have you, which we'll look at during this article. However, just up front, don't get too excited. There's still no images, no pictures, nothing to actually look at in terms of the design of this thing. So we have no idea effectively as to how it's going to appear. You might have seen some images a couple of months ago about the dev kit designs, and I think there was some patents about those. But as you probably know, the dev kits often look completely different to the final console. Just do a Google search for the dev kit of the PlayStation 4 and you'll know exactly what I mean. So don't pay too much attention to the designs that we've seen coming out of the patents for the dev kits, because the overall consumer model is probably going to look very, very different. Anyhow, let's just go ahead through this article. I'll just bounce through it until we get to some useful information. So, yep, the launch window for a PlayStation 5, which is the official name, it's not a code name, will be holiday 2020. And the controller that's coming with PlayStation 5 is pretty much going to be very similar in design to the current DualShock controller for PlayStation 4, but there are going to be a few differences. The first difference that's being announced here officially is that the rumble technology of the current controller is being replaced with haptic feedback, which is a far more effective form of rumble. I believe it's what the Nintendo Switch Pro controller uses. I could be wrong. But I believe that uses haptic feedback for its rumble. So if you've ever, used the rumble with a Switch Pro controller, then you'll probably have a good idea as to what that's going to be like. There is definitely a different feel to it. Now, the other thing as well that they're announcing with the controller are what they're calling adaptive triggers. And these are effectively, as far as I can understand, rumbles in the triggers, but also the triggers themselves are going to have a sensitivity to them, so that when you push down on the triggers can fight back, if you like, such as if you're drawing a bow and arrow, which is the example that's given here, or accelerating a vehicle through rocky terrain, which combines with the haptics. I guess it just gives that extra sense of immersion with the controller that we don't currently have on PS4 or in fact on any of the consoles. So it'd be interesting to see as well if some of the other console hardware manufacturers, obviously not Nintendo because the Switch is probably still going to be the in thing next year, but Microsoft in particular are going to copy some of these ideas with their new controller whatever the next form of the Xbox happens to launch. And then that's pretty much all the information they actually give here. The main takeaway from this, of course, is that we now have an official launch window. There's a couple of mentions about games here, but this is more to do with the fact that these are coming to PS4. Whether these are coming to PS5 as well, they probably will, I'd imagine. I'm sad there's no mention of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, the one game that I'm very much looking forward to of next year, but also very interested to see how that's going to go forward with the PlayStation 5, seeing as how it's going to be released over multiple episodes. The one thing that's not mentioned that I was hoping for was to do with the storage. We do know that PlayStation 5 is going to be using solid state storage of some kind. I'm not sure whether that's going to be a traditional solid state drive or an NVMe drive or whatever the case may be there. But we still don't know as to the size of that. Of course, solid state storage is still substantially more expensive, although it's a lot cheaper now than traditional mechanical hard drive storage. Now, how much they're going to be able to, justify including in the PlayStation 5 without the price being too out there is something I'm very interested in, because as games start to get bigger, and they get bigger every year it seems, don't they? It'd be interesting to see just how big of a solid state storage device they're going to be able to include as standard with the PlayStation 5. Because I don't think 500 gigabytes is going to cut it anymore. You know, PS4s are still shipping with 500 gigabytes in many cases, and you fill that up in the first day with just a few games, 2 or 3 games, and bang, you know, you're needing to upgrade. So I'm hoping that it's not going to be that, but because it's going to be solid state, I've got a feeling that it might be. Obviously, there could be options depending on, you know, what Sony decide to do. But that is the one thing that I am interested in, because this is going to be the first generation of console that is using this kind of storage. Obviously, PCs have gone there for many years now, but we've not really seen it yet with the consoles themselves. So I'm interested to see what direction all of the console hardware suppliers go in. Anyway, folks, what information are you hoping to learn soon about the PlayStation 5? If it's coming out now in probably about a year's time, we're obviously going to be starting to get quite a bit of information. I'd imagine that pre-orders for the hardware will go up a few months before the actual console itself comes out, which means that we're likely to know a lot more over the start of next year. And a little bit beyond, perhaps around springtime. But yeah, please do share your thoughts as to what you would like to see in the PlayStation 5 and what you think about the changes over the PlayStation 4 that we know about already, in particular with the new controller. Do you think that these are going to be good changes, or do you think that the DualShock has pretty much stood the test of time now and should just remain as is? I think design-wise, although we haven't seen it, it is going to be very, very similar. They tried to change the design of the DualShock before substantially, I think for PlayStation 3 or 4, I can't remember. The backlash was, well, it was just way out there, so it went back to the original design, didn't it? But yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you. I'll leave a link to the article down in the video description, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.